Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening I have LaToya Sanders. She is a creative entrepreneur, podcast host, and suicide awareness advocate. Good evening, LaToya. How are you?
Good evening, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's an honor for me because you are talking about love. And we're going to talk about love because 2020 has been a year I don't think anyone could have predicted. We've had COVID.
Yeah.
We've had the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. 164,000 people have lost their lives to police violence. 200,000 plus people have lost their lives to COVID. We have an election that we just got through, and there's unrest from that. There was unrest from George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. And a lot of people would say, you know, this year, what I see lacking is love. Tell us, are we in need of love, LaToya? And if so, why is
Yes.
it important?
Love, yes, we are definitely in need of love. There is a serious deficit of love in our society today. And love is the oxygen of the soul. Love is the one thing that makes all things beautiful. And I live my life, my mission every morning when I wake up is to sprinkle a little love everywhere I go, because that's what we need more of. That's the one thing that's going to keep us alive.
I love your phrase, how you phrased it. Love is the oxygen of the soul. And I've had the pleasure of being in the room with you and working with you on the Michael Van Tool show and community highlights with missionary Hattie Humphrey. And I will say from the very first day that I met you, you were definitely what we call the love ambassador. You were kind and caring, making sure that everybody had what they needed, making sure everyone was okay. And I just admire that about you. But talk to us about why love is so important to you.
Well, here's the thing, Kimberly. People look at me and they think I have this wonderful, beautiful life, but life wasn't always this way for me. And it's not beautiful now, but I make it that way because it's an intention. When I was a little girl, I grew up in a household where my mom loved me and she provided for me. But my mom was very rigid and unyielding. She was extremely strict. Her punishments were harsh. And I wasn't nurtured and loved as a child from my mother. And in order to really know how to give love, you have to know what it feels like not to be loved. And that was something that I struggled with my whole life, living the way I lived as a child and growing up into adulthood. I wasn't loved properly. So with that being the case, I'm a person who's always looking for opportunities to show a person love, looking for the opportunity to make another person feel well or feel good, because I know what that feels like to be a person in a home where you get nothing but ridicule, you get nothing but demeaned and told how much of a mistake you were and I regret I ever had you. Those words hurt me, and I'm 45 years old, and to this day, I still feel pain from being told by my mom that I wish I never had kids. You know, I regret having you. So my life has been built on spreading love. I never want anyone to feel the pain that I felt growing up, the pain that I feel as an adult today, the insecurities that I carry today. It all stems from my childhood, and I'm not a victim of it. I am taking my pain and repurposing my pain, and I'm making the world a better place around me, you know, in my circle, what I can do to bring love into the world, because that's what we all need. And again, I'll say this, my mom loved me, but she didn't know how to nurture and be a mother. If I called my mom right now and said, Mom, there's a man trying to break in my home, she would be here with 10 guns to protect me. So it was just maybe her childhood or something inside of her. She didn't know how to love me the way I needed to be loved. So I'll never get the opportunity to have that with her. So my my justice to myself is to go out into the world every single day and make sure that I meet people with love. And that's what helps feed my soul.
Wow, that is a powerful story. And I had heard that and I wanted you to share that. So I have a question for you. Were you ever able to ask your mom why she didn't love you the way that you needed to be loved?
We've had several conversations about that, yes. And my mom doesn't feel that she's done anything wrong. So she's not the affectionate, lovey-dovey type of person that I needed her to be. And I'm that way. I need that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't really acknowledge my pain. She doesn't acknowledge that she did anything wrong. She feels that she provided for me and gave me the best life. So that's her story and that's how she feels. But I was the recipient of her anger, of her regret. You know, when I would walk into a room, it was like, what do you want? What is it now? Instead of greeting me with love. So what it has taught me is how to be the mother to my daughter that my mom never was for me. I don't want to be that way with my own child. So I've learned a lot from that experience.
Let me congratulate you because you've done something extremely important. You've broken a generational curse because you could have done the same thing to your daughter that your mother did to you. So kudos to that. Kudos to you taking your pain and repurposing it and using it to bring joy to others. And trust me, we see it. I want to pivot a little bit because you have this passion towards suicide awareness. You started a podcast around it. Can you tell us a little bit about what the podcast is and why you are so passionate about suicide awareness?
Sure. My podcast is called Speaking of Love. My father, Herman McAlpin Jr., was a radio TV broadcast engineer here in the city of Detroit. And years ago, he had a radio show called Speaking of Sports. And my father committed suicide on March 2nd of this year. He was actually involved in a murder-suicide. He killed his wife moments before taking his own life. And his death left me devastated. Completely devastated. My father was an amazing person. And I'm still distraught behind it. It's only been about 8 months. So I created the podcast to raise awareness for suicide prevention, to help people who have challenges in mental illness. I want to help people because, again, it all goes back to love. My father had a lot of love around him, but he wasn't in a mental state where he could be on the receiving end of that love. He wasn't receptive to receiving it because the depression was telling him, you're ugly, you're fat, no one loves you, kill yourself. So even though his wife loved him, his daughter loved him, my dad's mind, his state of mind, the challenges that he had with depression told him, kill yourself because nobody wants you. So I created the platform to put an end to this, to put a stop to it, because my dad had so many wonderful things going for himself. His wife was a beautiful person. They didn't deserve to die that way. So when I leave this earth, I am going to die fighting for suicide awareness because I never want another person to pass away the way my father and his wife did. So that's the reason that I created my podcast, Speaking of Love. And my dad was a great guy. You know, I've had moments in my life where I felt like I didn't want to live anymore, or I wanted to jump off a ledge. And he was the one that built me up and said, hey, you're a beautiful girl. Why would you want to do something like that? That's stupid. You know, he was a wonderful person. And to know that he was in such a dark place and I wasn't there to help him, I couldn't help him. So I created that platform so that I can help other people.
That is a wonderful testament to his memory. I want to ask you a question, and if it's too much, it's okay. We can move on. Looking back with your dad, is there anything that you would do differently in terms of trying to reach him through his depression?
Yes, there is. My dad, he enjoyed drinking alcohol. I'll put it that way. You know, his favorite drink was called Easy Jesus, which E&J. Okay, but he called it Easy. He called it Easy Jesus. I mean, my dad was a comedian, and I think he used a lot of his comedy to mask his depression and his pain, which I realize that now. But my dad was such a funny and amazing guy, and he loved to drink alcohol. Well, because of the alcohol, I sometimes would distance myself from him because I was so disappointed in him. Like, wow, you've been drinking today, or, oh my goodness, what's going on? You didn't show up for the event like you promised that you would. So there were times when I would be upset with him and I would distance myself from him. And I regret doing that now, because now that he's passed away, I realized that he was struggling with something. He was struggling with all these demons, all these challenges, mental health challenges, using alcohol to numb the pain. So I wish and I regret that I didn't look at him as a man who needed help. I looked at him as someone where I wish he would get himself together. You know, I just wish he would do this. And I wish I would have had a little more compassion for him, but I didn't know that it was to the magnitude that it was. So if I could change anything, I would say that I wish I could have been a little more compassionate towards him. Now, I spoiled him. He was my dad, and I did a lot of favors for him, but it came to a point where I felt like, nope, I'm going to say no to him today. I'm not doing it. And so I have my regrets about that.
Understandably, but I think asking that question brought out something important. People that struggle with depression and anxiety, as you said it, wanting other people, their friends, their family, or whoever their loved ones are, wanting them to get their life together. And it's not that they don't need to get their life together, but a lot of it is what's going on in their head. And part of it could be unhealed trauma, which is interesting listening to you as a child and how you adapted to that pain and took that pain now and have repurposed it. Whereas your father, whatever the source of pain was, he wasn't able to do the same thing. And one of the things that I always say, and you know, we've talked about this before, when people are struggling with depression or anxiety, we need to be there. We need to help hold someone's hand, not judge them, but help them along the way. Because oftentimes, not exactly, but similar to the situation that happened with your dad, is that people will take their own life for a variety of reasons and say, I can't take it anymore. And until you have been in that position where you are being pressured by your thoughts, by whatever it is that you're hearing, like you said, you're ugly, you're fat, you're no good, no one loves you, whatever it is that you're hearing, you begin to believe it, even though everything around you says differently. And so I commend you for doing that great work. Now, out of that, you have created some art pieces, some door hangers. Can you show us some of that work and tell us how that came about?
Okay, well, I started a love mission maybe about 3 years ago. I was working at a school, and the teachers were very stressed. Everyone seemed so unhappy in the school. And I'm like, this is a school. We've got beautiful children walking around. Why is everyone so stressed all the time? So I would go home on the weekends and I would make a creation for teachers. And then on Monday morning, I would surprise them with a handmade gift. And it just circulated throughout the school. So by the end of the school year, every teacher in that school had a handmade item hanging in their classroom from me. So it was like Mrs. Sanders' perpetual love mission. And I did it as a way to show teachers that I love them and that they were appreciated. And so people would tell me, you're really artistic. You should start selling your door hangers. You should make money. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I should do that. I just go home on the weekends. It's a hobby. And so now I've turned my hobby into a money-making business. So I'll show you some of my items.
Okay, great.
So I make one-of-a-kind door hangers from Revolution Plywood. And this is Barack Obama. And I make this 100% from scratch. I use a jigsaw. I use a sander. I go to Lowe's Home Improvement and I have this big slab of wood and they have to shave it down just so it can fit in my car. But this is one of my recent door hangers here. And then I have a stiletto heel. This is made with love. I have this beautiful young lady here. And I made this one too. And then in addition to my wooden door hangers, I also do canvas paintings. Now this is glass art here. Wow. This lady is wearing a pair of sandals, and I have embedded real pieces of shattered glass inside. So this piece is another art piece that I've made. And then one last piece I have is, this is my signature hot fudge sundae. It's 0 calories, so we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, these are just some of the items that I create and some of the items that I make. But I want to say that each item that I just showed you, it represents a pill that I should have taken to help me get through my sad days after my father passed away. So these items here, this is what has kept me grounded. This is what has kept me vibrant and kept me alive. These here are my therapy pieces. So that's what I do.
Awesome. So art is therapy for you. You also make earrings. You know, you got to talk about that. Come on, LaToya.
Oh, you're lucky I have a pair here. I make these. These are fox leather teardrop earrings, and I have a Cricut machine. So I get like a big piece of this leather here. It just looks like a square, and then I carve out the image, and then I make earrings with it. So this is a pair of buffalo plaid earrings that I'm going to be putting together with the holiday gift basket that I'll be selling on my website.
Excellent. Excellent. LaToya, you are doing some amazing things. If someone is struggling with depression and anxiety and they ask you, what should I do? What would your response to them be?
Well, my first response would be to tell them the thoughts that you have in your mind and what you're being told by your subconscious mind is not true. That's the first thing I would let them know. And the second thing is I would want to talk to them to find out, how did we arrive to this place today? Because no one just wakes up in the morning and feels depressed. There's something that has caused that. And then I would work my way down from there to figure out how we can problem solve. I would reassure that person that today is just one day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let's stay awake, because every morning that we wake up, there's a rebirth. When we wake up in the morning and we open our eyes and we stretch, we are rebirthing a new day. So I would encourage them to just stay awake for the rebirth, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. And if you die today, if you kill yourself today, I don't like to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to say, oh, if you take your own life. No, if you kill yourself today, you don't know what could have been waiting around for you tomorrow for the rebirth. If my dad had stayed alive just one more day, who knows what would have happened that Tuesday? He died on a Monday. Tuesday probably would have been a better day. So I would encourage that person to just work with me, stay with me. Let's work this out. Let's talk about it, because suicide only hurts the people that you leave behind. My dad is gone. He's sleeping in his grave right now. He doesn't have to sit up in the middle of the night like I do. And I envision him the last moments of his life with the gun to his head, pulling the trigger. I'm suffering because of a decision that he made. So I would let that person know, you don't have to make that decision, because you're not going to feel the pain. You have people in your life that love you. Yes, so your depression or whatever your mental challenges are may be telling you that no one loves you or that you're unlovable, but you are loved, and I love you, and I would reassure that person. And then also I would give them the number for the suicide awareness hotline is 1-800-273-TALK. 1-800-273-TALK. They have trained professionals that will talk to you. They will help you. If you're too embarrassed to talk from your mouth, you can text them. You can text them and tell them how you feel. We can work it out. Never think that suicide is the answer, because it's not. It's only going to damage the people that are around you and the people that love you.
Thank you for sharing that. That was such a powerful statement. And you're absolutely right. When people kill themselves, the only people they hurt are the ones they leave behind. Ironically, though, many people who commit suicide, who kill themselves, believe that they are doing those people a favor. And so,
yes.
And we know that is just the wickedness from the enemy trying to take people off of their purpose. And I tell people, similar to what you said, and I like how you put it together, that each day is a rebirth. Each day is an opportunity to start over again. And oftentimes, because I have struggled with depression, and one of the things that I have to remind myself of, this is happening in this moment. What is this moment trying to teach you? And it is only in this moment. Let's let it go. It ends, it's just one day. Tomorrow is going to be a better day. And I think one of the things that we have to do when we have depression and anxiety is people have to, because one of the things I struggle with is looking too far ahead or looking too far back. We have to stay present moment of where we are. And sometimes that does help because that takes away some of the pain, because you don't think about what happened in the past and you don't think about what happened in the future. So you don't have anybody saying, see what you did back then, that makes you bad, or whatever the painful memories are, or you're never going to do anything in the future. You don't know. You just live in the present moment. But I thank you for that, because I think that's important for people to hear and for people to understand, especially coming from a family member who has gone through that, because so many times people suffer, they grieve, and they sort of move on. They honor people privately and don't really go a lot into that. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing that. Thank you, LaToya.
And Kimberly, I just want to say that it's extra complicated for me, because I also have to live with the guilt and the shame that my father didn't only take his life, he killed someone that really loved him, his wife. They were only married for 9 months. So he took her life first, and then he took his own life. So it's not easy for me to go before a public audience on the platform and talk about that, because my father didn't just kill himself. He took someone with him. So that's an extra element of embarrassment, an extra element of pain, that I have to stand here and say that he would do something like that. My dad wasn't that kind of person. He wasn't. So it's a very complex subject matter, but I am here and I am going to fight for suicide awareness. If I have to leave out of my house in the middle of the night with pajamas on to save someone's life, I'm going to do it, because that phone call that I received on Monday, March 2nd at 1:00 in the morning about my dad passing away, it changed my whole life. From that moment on, my life will never be the same.
And thank you for sharing that, because that is an element. It does make it even more complicated, because you do feel guilty for the other person that was taken. And unfortunately, you can't go back and change circumstances. We can only deal with what's forward. And so again, thank you for sharing your thoughts, your frustrations, your feelings, your anger, all of those things, and then letting people know that you are not allowing this to keep you down, that you are trying to fight, and that you will fight for others. So I appreciate
Oh, yes, definitely. With love.
With love. Okay, so we covered the door hangers. We covered your podcast. You also do events where you take your artwork to. Do you have any? I know because of COVID, nothing is really happening, but are you doing anything online? Do you have anything coming up?
I don't have any events coming up. I sit on the board of directors for the Down Syndrome Guild of Southeast Michigan. So whenever they have events for the children with Down syndrome, I'll set up a booth and I'll sell my door hangers, and then I donate the money to charity. However, with COVID-19, I haven't been able to do that. But what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be having a Facebook Live sale, and I'm going to be selling some of my door hangers live. And then also I'm starting a monthly subscription club where every month you'll get a door hanger delivered to your front door. All you have to do is open up the box and you can hang it on your front door, hang it in your office, and it'll coincide with the season or whatever holiday is coming forward. And it's just an easy way for people to decorate their home without having to do all the work.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. Now tell us where we can find you, LaToya, and how we can order door hangers and when we can hear your podcast.
Okay, so my podcast airs every Saturday at 12 o'clock noon, and you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. The name of my podcast is called Speaking of Love. Speaking of Love is my podcast, and it's definitely here on Facebook. And then also my website is beautifultoy.net, beautifultoy.net. And of course, you can find me on Facebook under LaToya Sanders.
Thank you, LaToya, for being on the Kim B. Davis Show and giving us some very important information on suicide awareness and prevention, for sharing your artwork, and especially for telling us that love is the oxygen of the soul. You know, I'm going to post that tonight with your name.
You know what? You know, when my time on earth is complete, I want my epitaph to read, "Here lies LaToya. Spreading love was her oxygen."
I love it. I love it. You have to put that on something. You have to put
okay.
That is beautiful. Spreading love. Yes. Yes.
Spreading love was her oxygen.
That's
yes.
What we all should be doing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, LaToya. I appreciate you coming on. I hope you will come back on again so we can continue this conversation, because it is an important conversation. We're entering the holidays where a lot of people have increases of anxiety and depression, which can lead to suicide. And now that we are back in a shutdown, COVID depression is a new diagnosis, and it's all related to the pandemic and shutdowns. And so we definitely have to keep this conversation going. So I hope you will join us again.
Yes, I will, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor, and I bow to your excellence. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, my fellow queen. I bow to your excellence, because you are the queen of love. You absolutely are. You have a beautiful spirit and a beautiful heart. There were times where I might be stressed out about something, not feeling confident, or any of those things. And we would be in the radio station, and you would say, "Kim, how are you today? You look really pretty today." And it would just be the way that you would say, and I'd go, "Okay, I need to get out of whatever I was thinking or whatever I was feeling. Like, that's not what it is." Or, "Oh, Kim, I love the topic that you covered today." So I just want to continue to encourage you to continue to do the work that you should be doing. Everyone has a purpose. And I'll be very honest, a lot of times when we find out what our purpose is, it may not come to us packaged the way that we would like it to. Sometimes it comes with hurt and pain. But through that hurt and pain, you repurpose it, as you said, and you work to spread love. Say it again, spreading love.
Here lies LaToya. Spreading love was her oxygen.
That's right. You were spreading love, which was your oxygen. Yes. So thank you.
And I want to leave you with the scripture from 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 16. It says, "Let all that you do be done in love."
Amen. Amen. Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.